The film begins by introducing a mother and daughter. The mother's name is Yoshi, and her daughter is May. May is still very young and has not started school yet, so every day local children come over to play with her. One such day, as May is playing with her friends, Yoshi remembers a task she needs to complete. After thoroughly checking the house, she sets out to finish her chore. However, when she returns home, she finds the house eerily silent. The children are gone, and May is nowhere to be found. At first, Yoshi assumes May might be playing at a neighbor's house, but as hours pass with no sign of her, she begins to investigate. The other children tell her they haven't seen May in a long time. Overcome with panic, Yoshi searches everywhere before calling her husband, Tadahiko, to tell him that May has disappeared. By the time he arrives, the police are already at the house, and a formal complaint has been filed. The police and the neighbors spend the entire day searching for the little girl, but May is nowhere to be found. Exhausted and heartbroken, everyone eventually returns home. That night, as Yoshi goes to the laundry room to put away dirty clothes, she lets out a blood-curdling scream. Her daughter May was trapped inside the washing machine and had suffocated to death. This was a devastating blow for Yoshi. A year passes, and we see that Yoshi still hasn't recovered from the trauma. She is plagued by guilt because she knew the lock on the machine was faulty. If she had only replaced it a few days earlier, the accident might never have happened. Despite numerous therapy sessions, she remains stuck in her grief. One day, Yoshi's mother brings her a leaflet about a temple. It describes a ritual where the belongings of the deceased are burned, helping the living to move on. Yoshi's mother urges her to visit, and though Yoshi is hesitant, she considers it. Suddenly, as she stands by the window, the pamphlet slips from her hand and is caught by a gust of wind. Yoshi runs outside to catch it, and the paper eventually lands on a wooden box at a market stall. Inside the strange old box sits a doll. For reasons she can't explain, Yoshi feels an intense attraction to it, as if it were her own daughter. She buys the doll and brings it home. That evening, when Tadahiko returns, he is surprised and delighted to see Yoshi so happy. She has even prepared a delicious meal for the family. However, his joy turns to shock when he sees the doll sitting in his daughter's chair at the dining table. He remains silent, realizing that if this doll is what improved Yoshi's mood, he shouldn't take it away from her. Days pass as Yoshi raises the doll as if it were her own child. She buys it clothes, bathes it, and cleans it constantly. The strangest thing is that the doll's hair and nails keep growing, which Yoshi trims without a second thought. She doesn't seem to realize that a doll's hair shouldn't grow. Tadahiko, however, is terrified every time he looks at it. He eventually takes Yoshi to a doctor and mentions the doll. The doctor speaks to Tadahiko privately, advising him not to separate Yoshi from the doll. He explains that the doll is acting as a surrogate, much like how people raise pets to cope with loss, and it is helping her move on. Tadahiko accepts this, and life begins to feel normal again. During this time, they receive wonderful news. Yoshi is pregnant. It was as if a new life had breathed hope into their home. Soon, they have another daughter, completing their family. They name her Mai, a name reminiscent of their first daughter. After Mai's birth, Yoshi seems to forget about the doll, setting it aside, though she occasionally uses it to calm Mai down. One day, Yoshi looks at the baby monitor and sees the doll, which she had left beside Mai, now lying on top of the infant. Yoshi and her mother rush into the room to find Mai crying, her neck scratched by the doll's hair. Upset, Yoshi's mother angrily throws the doll aside. Yoshi tells Tadahiko what happened, and he decides it is time to lock the doll away. When he enters the room to do so, he notices strange incantations written on the doll's box. He ignores them, and they lock the doll inside. A long period of time passes and everything seems normal. Mai grows up and begins attending school. One day after returning from school, she is playing with marbles when one rolls into her closet. While searching for it, she discovers the doll's box and takes it out. When she shows the doll to Yoshi, her mother is surprised but doesn't react strongly. However, Yoshi notices that the doll's hair has grown significantly longer than she remembers cutting it. That night, she mentions the growth to Tadahiko, but he dismisses it, saying it's an old doll and she likely just forgot. Life continues, but one day we see Mai talking to the doll, and an actual voice responds, confirming that it is a living doll. One night, Mai becomes frightened and comes to sleep with Yoshie, claiming she is afraid of the doll, but Yoshie pays little attention. The next day, a friend of Mai and her mother visit. The two children play in the room with the doll until a loud cry erupts. The mothers rush in to find bite marks on the visiting girl's hand. Mai and the girl insist the doll bit her, but the mothers refuse to believe it. Yoshie assumes Mai is lying out of fear and blames the doll. She apologizes to the other mother and they leave. Later that night, Yoshie goes to Mai's room and sees her with a paper bag over her face. As she begins tidying, she discovers that Mai has cut up all the pictures of her late sister May and ruined many family photos. Enraged, Yoshie pulls the paper bag off the child's head, only to find the doll sitting there while Mai walks in from behind. The next day, Yoshie is called to Mai's school. The drawing teacher shows her a disturbing picture Mai drew of a mother and daughter hanging from a noose. This disturbs Yoshie deeply. Mai had also drawn a picture of a girl walking on water. Yoshie realizes the doll is behind this but remains silent. That night, Mai comes to her again in fear. As Yoshie reaches out to comfort her, she realizes the figure in her lap is the doll. She screams, waking Tadahiko, who comforts her but doesn't truly listen. Yoshie decides to tell him everything in the morning, but he leaves early for a walk. In a fit of rage, Yoshie stuffs the doll into a bag and throws it in the trash. When she returns to cook dinner, she hears the front door open and finds the doll sitting there with a paper bag on its head. Driven to the edge, Yoshie grabs a rolling pin and beats the doll's head until it is crushed. Suddenly, she realizes she hasn't killed the doll. She has killed her own daughter, Mai. She screams and regains consciousness, realizing it was all a horrific nightmare induced by the doll. The doorbell rings, and Yoshie finds the doll outside with a note from municipal workers stating they couldn't take such a large item as scrap. Enraged, Yoshie takes the doll down and convinces the garbage collectors to take it. She returns home, feeling a sense of relief, but soon hears a commotion outside. She learns that the man she gave the doll to was crushed to death inside his own garbage truck. Devastated, Yoshie realizes the doll is responsible. When she returns, she finds Mai holding the doll, furious that her mother tried to throw it away. Yoshie doesn't understand how Mai knew what she did. They return home, and Yoshie begins keeping a constant watch. When Tadahiko refuses to believe her fears, she shows him the baby monitor footage of Mai talking to the doll. Yoshie insists the doll is haunted, but Tadahiko tells her she is just under stress. The next day, while Yoshie is playing hide-and-seek with Mai, she sees a figure running and follows it to Mai's room. She sees someone hiding under a blanket, but when she lifts it, the figure vanishes under the bed. Looking under the bed, she finds no one, but then an invisible entity covered by a blanket runs out. Yoshie realizes it is an evil entity, not her daughter. Terrified, she remembers May's death in the washing machine and rushes to the laundry room. She sees someone inside the machine, and as she opens it, a terrifying girl attacks her. Yoshie pushes her away, and the figure hits the floor, revealing it was Mai all along. Mai is severely injured and taken to the hospital, where doctors find torture marks and nail scratches on her body. Finally, even Tadahiko begins to believe. Yoshie tells him to get rid of the doll by any means necessary. Tadahiko returns home and researches the box, finding the name Yasumoto. He discovers Yasumoto was a famous doll maker and contacts a temple. The priest warns him that it is a living doll and extremely dangerous. Tadahiko searches online and finds a story about a group of people investigating the legend of Yasumoto's living doll. The story claims Yasumoto's daughter, Rei, disappeared and was never found. His wife believed her soul entered a doll, and she raised it as her own. When the wife died, the doll was buried with her, but it later reappeared. Tadahiko finds that the doll had been harassing Yoshie's mother, who called Tadahiko for help. However, when Yoshie's mother looked for Mai, the girl was gone. She eventually found her on a bridge and saved her from falling. Back at the apartment, Tadahiko arrives with Mai and the doll. This confuses Yoshie's mother, who wonders who she just saved. She realizes it was all a hallucination or a trick by the doll. CCTV footage confirms the doll was responsible for the chaos. Tadahiko matches bite marks on his arm to the doll's teeth, proving the child was innocent. The next day, a priest takes the doll to perform a ritual and burn it. However, the priest deceives them, burning a fake doll because the original is a valuable antique he intends to sell. As the priest tries to escape with the real doll, hair begins growing out of his mouth. He chokes, falls, and dies. Everyone discovers the priest's betrayal. A nurse picks up the doll, and a human tooth falls from its mouth. An MRI reveals a full human skeleton inside the doll. This shocks the police, who take the doll for investigation. Fearing for the officer's safety, Tadahiko and the priest's associate give chase. The officer sees a terrifying image of the doll in a photo, loses focus, and crashes, killing a girl on the road. The associate takes the doll to a retired officer named Harun, who reveals the truth. Yasumoto's wife wanted a son and was so disappointed by her daughter that she killed the girl and then herself. The wife survived, but the daughter died. To hide the crime, Yasumoto dissolved his daughter's body in boiling water and built the doll around her skeleton. His wife, overcome with grief and shame, eventually died, requesting to be buried with the doll in the same pot used to boil her child. However, the doll was later stolen. The associate performs a ritual to end the curse, but the doll triggers a violent storm, injuring the priest. He instructs Yoshie and Tadahiko to complete the burial. They reach the gravesite, but as they lower the doll, a photo of Mei falls in. As Yoshie reaches for it, the doll pulls her into the grave. Tadahiko manages to save her, but they both experience a hallucination of Mei trapped in the washing machine. Yoshie has to cut her hair to escape the doll's grip. They finally return home, thinking the nightmare is over. Sometime later, the priest visits. Yoshie's mother shows him monitor footage of Mai talking to the doll, saying she doesn't want to go home because her mother beats her and she wants Yoshie's love. A final, terrifying twist is revealed. The real Mai is still with Yoshie's mother. Yoshie and Tadahiko never came to get her. The daughter they are currently raising and pushing in a stroller is actually the evil doll that has possessed them both. The doll finally got the motherly love it craved, while the real daughter remains forgotten, ending the story on a chilling note.